Minnesota 6-4-1. They head to New England next week, and then what do they have? Seattle after that, right? I mean, they've got a tough.
They have like the hardest stretch of any team. I think they're as of a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, their strength of schedule remaining for the season was like the toughest of any team in the NFL.
Yeah,
they're going to have a pretty tough road of it.
Does anything sum up Kirk Cousins more than back-to-back Sunday night games where 1 week he's a disaster and he's not worth the money, and the next week it's big throw after big throw and he's everything you want? Granted, man, there were some passes that were off target or even on target, but that were just like Thielen's making great catches, Rudolph's making great catches. That receiving core is awesome. But nothing sums up Kirk Cousins like 1 week everybody's writing him off, he's overrated, and then the next week he's playing the game he's supposed to play against the Green Bay Packers, your big rival.
Yeah, this was the game where Kirk Cousins showed why they brought him in, right? He's done this against the Packers both times. They kept showing on the broadcast on Sunday Night Football the numbers he's had against Green Bay have just been absurd. Like both, I think, at Washington and now for the Vikings. His numbers against the Packers have just been insane. And obviously you think back to how much the kicker has screwed them. Collective kickers, multiple kickers have screwed the Vikings over these 2 games against the Packers. Carlson, I think, missed 3 kicks in the first game. And then Dan Bailey, did he miss 2 yesterday? To the point where Mike Zimmer came out and said he's not even kicking after halftime. He's not putting it in the hands of the kicker anymore. But yeah, this was the game that Kirk Cousins was supposed to have. Thielen and Diggs remain ridiculous in terms of route running and the ability to make special things happen. Like the matchup between Thielen rather and Jair Alexander was pretty fun.
Oh, it was awesome.
Because Alexander had a couple of spectacular plays against him. The one early on where he just destroyed a bubble screen by essentially taking a flying leap at Adam Thielen, understanding he wasn't going to get round him.
Right.
And just decided he was going to go through him instead. And
through him to the receiver.
Yeah, tossed Adam Thielen into, was it Diggs that was taking the bubble screen?
Diggs ended up running backwards for another 10.
Just killed the play for like a 5-yard loss because he torpedoed Thielen. But he also had another play later in the game where he decked Thielen basically by jamming him at the line. Just a straight press coverage, jam at the line, put Thielen on his ass. But then Thielen got him a few times in terms of route running. Managed to shake him loose a couple of times. Made a couple of plays against him. So that was a fun kind of battle back and forth between those two.
All right, so let's move on. So again, tough road for Minnesota.
So they have they're at the Patriots, at the Seahawks. Then they play the Dolphins at home. The last 2 games are the ones that are going to define their season because they're on the road against the Detroit Lions in Week 16, and then Week 17 is at home against the Chicago Bears, who could have wrapped up the division by then, could have nothing to play for. Either way, that's likely to be fairly defining for the Vikings.
Yeah, they're essentially a game and a half kind of behind Chicago because this stupid tie throwing things off. But really more like 2 games because of the tiebreaker. So if you're Minnesota, you're focused on the Redskins. You're focused on the teams we're going to talk about next with Seattle and Carolina, Philadelphia. So it's all about getting that wild card spot. Seattle Seahawks and Carolina Panthers. Talk about 2 teams now going in different directions. Seattle beats Green Bay 2 weeks ago. Huge win in Carolina now. They're both 6-5 with Seattle holding the tiebreaker. And as you look at these standings here, Washington, Seattle, and Carolina are all 6-5. We already talked about Washington with Colt McCoy at the helm. You have to feel pretty good about Seattle sliding into that wild card spot now.
Right. We said a while ago that it looked like they may be the team that kind of ends up 500 or better, but ends up missing out in the playoffs because they had to face the Rams twice. This week, this game was something that might actually change that. Like they beat a team in Carolina on the road that they probably weren't expected to win, and that basically propels them past the Panthers in that hierarchy of NFC teams chasing the playoffs, and they have almost the reverse of the Vikings problem. So they face the Vikings, but they get to play the 49ers twice. They haven't played them yet. They do have to face the Chiefs, which is a problem, but then they get the Arizona Cardinals as well. So for them, that should be at least 3 wins, even if they lose against both of the good teams that they're facing, and bearing in mind the Vikings are coming to Seattle. Like if they win 3 games, that puts them at 9. If they get the Vikings as well, that's 10 wins. That should put them in the playoffs.
Is it crazy to think that Seattle and their situation, the situation that Russell Wilson is in Seattle, is not that different from what Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay? Talent and coaching around him.
Yeah, I don't see a great parallel that you seem to, but
I'm not saying it's a perfect parallel, but
sell it to me.
I'm saying in recent weeks, Russell Wilson's had his fair share of mishaps in the fourth quarter this year. We've had pick sixes against the Chicago Bears and against the Chargers. However, also, game on the line against Green Bay, made it happen. Game on the line yesterday against Carolina, made it happen. And overall, he's still grading pretty well. Statistically, everything's pretty good, all that fun stuff. And he's doing it with an offensive coordinator who came in there and said, I'm running the ball. We are going to run the ball. I know we have Russell Wilson, who's a top 5 to 10 quarterback, but we are going to run the ball. And Russell Wilson's still having an excellent season, and in recent weeks making these plays in crunch time. Seattle's defense, not good. They're not good. He does not. He has the worst situation of his career.
Whoa.
I would say.
Whoa,
Russell
there.
Wilson. Do you think last year was worse?
I think there are years where his offensive line has been so actively trying to kill him that you can't possibly say that this current one is a worse situation.
I'm talking about his team situation as far as winning football games.
I would suggest that if the Seahawks make the playoffs this year, they will be one of the most dangerous teams that nobody would want to face.
I think that's everybody in the NFC, though.
I
wouldn't want, like, if Minnesota's at if Minnesota's the 5 seed and Seattle's the 6 seed.
I would much rather face Minnesota than Seattle if I'm one of the top seeds heading into the postseason.
I don't know. I think you're heading into a year where in both conferences, the 5 and 6 seeds might be better than or have as good of a shot of knocking off the division winners as any year in the past.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, I mean, the Vikings will be strong essentially on defense again if they get back in shape, and that matters less than it's ever mattered before. The Seahawks defense isn't great, but they have Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is capable of beating essentially any of these teams almost single-handedly. I would not want to face Russell Wilson if I was pretty much any team in the NFC.
That's the other part. He's making names out of no names in the receiving core. So every excuse that Aaron Rodgers has, it's Mike McCarthy, it's the play calling, he doesn't have any easy throws, he's got no receivers. Like, there's truth in all of that, but to put it all on that, like, Aaron Rodgers still is he missed those easy throws when he needed to. It's not like he doesn't. He had a wide open check down. Everybody's like, oh, he never gets any nice easy throws. He had a wide open check down when he took a sack last night in the fourth quarter in a key situation. I just think there are some parallels there. I'm impressed with what Seattle's doing. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, this was a watershed game for them. This propelled them past the Carolina Panthers in the NFC seeding and put them essentially from outside looking in to right. I think they're now. I don't know if they're favorites, but they are firmly in the mix to take that wild card spot.